G'day, mate. My name's FPL Roo, and welcome back to the channel, and welcome back to another FPL video. In today's video, we're going to be looking at some of the top targets that people are bringing in for Game Week 31. We're going to be looking at whether you should bring them in or leave it, and we'll be kicking it off with goalkeepers, then defenders, midfielders, and so on. So first up, we do have goalkeepers. So we'll start with Liverpool's Alisson. So a lot of people have been thinking that Liverpool have been doing really, really bad this season, but Alisson is actually the second goalkeeper with the most points. So he's only 2 points behind David Raya, who is top. Alisson has kept 11 clean sheets this year, and he comes in at 5.4 million. So he is a little bit on the expensive side, but that's only a 0.5 more than David Raya and the same price as Nick Pope. He is owned by 15% of FPL managers, but I'm sure that is a lot of people that started the game and no longer playing, because he's not really as popular with people that are still playing the game. He is expected to score just over 21 points over the next 5 game weeks, and he does play in game week 32, where a lot of teams do blank. Liverpool do also double in game week 34. So if you don't have any chips left, he'd be a great goalkeeper to bring in. They have Leeds away, Forest at home, West Ham away in the blank game week of game week 32, and then game week 33. In the blank game week, they have Forest at home, which is game week 32. Then they have a double of 2 home games. They have Spurs and Fulham. So the thing you've noticed about Liverpool this season, although they've been terrible away from home, the home form has been pretty good. And they have Forest and then 2 home games in the double game week 34. So definitely a good option if you are looking for a double game week goalkeeper that doesn't blank in game week 32. So third for top point scorer for goalkeeper is Nick Pope. He does come in at the same price as Alisson, 5.4 million. He's 21% owned, and he's expected to score 17.52 points over the next 4 game weeks for him, as he doesn't so he doesn't have a double, so he only has 4 fixtures, whereas Alisson has 5 fixtures. He starts off with a tricky away tie against Aston Villa, who are doing really, really well at the moment. Then Spurs at home, then Everton away, then Southampton at home. Newcastle are expected to get a double game week, though, in game week 36, maybe 35. So that is something to bear in mind too. They also don't blank in game week 32. If you don't have any chips, then yeah, definitely keep Pope in mind. For me, I'd probably rather go for Trippier or Botman or one of the defenders, as you are saving that bit of money. Although Pope does get a few save points, I'd rather go for the cheaper options personally. Next up, we have got the top point scorer, David Raya, 4.9 million, 17% owned. Raya, although he's not doesn't keep loads of clean sheets, he has kept 9 this season, but his save points are ridiculous, and his bonus points because of that are ridiculous too. So he's got 16 bonus points over the course of the season, which is just incredible. He's literally a bonus point magnet, and at the same time, Brentford have been doing okay defensively, so they didn't keep a clean sheet in their double game week. They do have some pretty good fixtures coming up. So they have 31, they have Wolves away. Wolves struggle to score. Villa at home, which is going to be tough. Villa are doing really well at the moment. Chelsea away. And then in game week 34, they have Forest at home. Their fixtures do turn after that, though. So they have Liverpool away, West Ham at home, Spurs away, and City at home. For me, I wouldn't be bringing in David Raya, but if you've got him, I'd probably be keeping him unless you can switch to a Alisson or a Ederson, who I'm going to speak about now. So with Ederson, he is 5.4 million. It seems like all the goalkeepers are 5.4 million. And obviously City do have a double game week in game week 34. Although it looks like their clean sheets hasn't been as much, they've still he's still managed to get points and kind of rack up. Well, he even got an assist one week as well, which is ridiculous. The clean sheets, City have got 10 clean sheets, so that's more than David Raya, 1 less than Alisson, 1 less than Pope and stuff like that. So although we don't seem like City keep a clean sheet, because I know a lot of us got him in and they didn't really do that well. They kept conceding late on. He is only 14% owned, and he is only expected to score 16 points over the next 4 game weeks. This is probably mainly because they blank in game week 32. So they have Leicester at home, a blank, Arsenal at home, Fulham away, and West Ham at home in a double game week. Personally, if you are playing your free hit in game week 32, Edison is the go-to goalkeeper for me. They have a great double, Fulham away, West Ham at home in 34. They're likely to double again in 37, although that is a bit tougher. It is Chelsea at home and Brighton away. That is not confirmed, though, so bear that in mind. He's the safest option getting into that City defence. You're not going to have to worry about the lineup. But at the same time, you're probably not going to be keeping a lot of save points and stuff like that. For me, out of these 4, I'd say the best goalkeeper to bring in is Edison, as you do get 2 double game weeks. And that is if you're on a free hit. If you're not on a free hit in game week 32, then I would be bringing in Alisson, as he does have that fixture in 32. So non-free hit, if you don't have a free hit left, or you're not playing it in game week 32, go for Alisson. If you have it left and you are going to be playing it in 32, then go for Edison. So next up, we do have defenders. We'll start off with Nathan Ake. So as I've just mentioned, Man City do have a double game week in game week 34 and are likely to have a double game week in game week 37. So we want to be looking into bringing additional players to probably Haaland. I know a lot of us probably got Haaland or are getting him back soon. Looking to get additional players. And if you don't fancy Edison, then Ake or another defender is a good option. So for me, I have gone for Ake. I feel like he's a little bit more nailed than the other defenders. So as he can play left back, he can play centre back. Whereas someone like Diaz can only play centre back. Someone like Stones, although he was playing in midfield against Liverpool, he's mainly only going to play centre back. Akanji could be an option, though. He does play right back too. But for me, Ake is the one. He has started the last 4 games, and he's been pretty much a consistent figure throughout the season. And I know a lot of City fans have been saying he is one of their best defenders, one of their best players this season, obviously apart from Haaland. So he does come in at 5 million. He's only 4% owned, so a really good differential. Although his expected points are low, that is just because he hasn't really performed in terms of assists and stuff like that. Although he has scored, basically he hasn't blanked. He blanked against Liverpool, but before that he scored points in the last 3 games. 2 of them being clean sheets, but one of them he came off before Bournemouth scored, so he managed to bank that clean sheet. City's games, as I mentioned, Leicester at home, Arsenal at home, Fulham away and West Ham at home in the next 4, and that's a double game week, that Fulham and West Ham. So 3 home fixtures in the next 3 game weeks is fantastic. And City are going to be pushing to catch Arsenal. And we know how well they turn up towards the end of the season, and they grind out their results. They put in big performances. So it's ideal to get in a City defender. If you prefer Kanji, I don't hate that, or Stones. Diaz, I wouldn't go there really. Or someone like Walker, or even the young Rico Lewis, I wouldn't go there. I'd stick with Ake or Akanji. Next up, we have got a player that was in all of our teams last season, essential. A player that was literally one of the best value players in FPL, even though he was one of the most expensive defenders, is Trent Alexander-Arnold. So he's actually 7.3 million, so still pretty expensive. 18.5% owned, but he's expected to score just over 22 points over the next 4 game weeks. So 31, 32, 33, 34. Again, like I mentioned with Alisson, Liverpool don't blank in game week 32 and they double in game week 34 with 2 home fixtures. And then we know how good they are at home. Away from home is a different story, but their 2 away games are Leeds and West Ham, so really favourable teams. And with Trent, you've always got the chance of assists or goals. Although he's only scored 1 goal this year and he's got 4 assists. If you're looking for that almost differential, I'm sure he is with the people that are playing now, then Trent is a good option. There is slight worry about his place. Joe Gomez did start that game against Chelsea midweek and game week game week 29. But I think Trent is first choice. For me, though, I just don't like that price tag. I think it's too expensive. I think you might as well go for Alisson. It's safe. You know he's going to start. And I feel like Ake has more chance of starting than Trent. I know Trent's probably going to play most games, but for that price, it's just too risky for me. Next up, we've got Martinez. So a lot of people have Shaw, maybe even De Gea, but I think a lot of people are overlooking Martinez. So he is only 4.5 million for a Manchester United starting centre back. He started the last 5 games. Before that, he started the last 4 games. So he's been dropped against Leeds away. So for me, he's a great option. 4.5 million to get into that Man United defence. Although they haven't been amazing recently, they did manage to keep a clean sheet against Brentford. They kept a clean sheet against Southampton in game week 27 too. So they have been pretty solid defensively. And for 4.5 million, you're not too worried, really. It's just a route into the United defence. Obviously, you lose out on the attacking threat of Luke Shaw and the save points of De Gea, but he can pop up with a goal. Although he hasn't scored many, he scored 1 goal this season. He can pop up with a goal. You never know. And for 4.5 million, you're not too worried about that. You're just really focusing on the clean sheets. Next up, well, with Man United's fixtures first, before we move on, we've got Forest away in 31. They blank in 32 though, so that is something to take into mind. If you're not playing a free hit, maybe don't go for Martinez. Then they have Spurs away, so 2 pretty tough away games. Forest maybe not so much. Spurs maybe not so much now either. And then in game week 34, they're double game weeks. Villa at home, Brighton away. So again, tough again. The way both teams are playing, fighting for top 4, I'm sure they're going to be a hard opposition for Man United, but you've got to fancy Man United in them fixtures. Next up, we have got Estupiñán. So he starts off at 4.8 million, which is a really good price. He has got attacking threat. Although he hasn't really shown it in abundance. He has got 5 assists this season, which is not bad. He can do better, though. He does get in them positions where he can do better. He is 13% owned and he's expected to score just over 18 points. So the second best on this list. For me, if you don't have him, I'd get him in. No, there's no 2 ways about it. He blanks in game at 32, though. That's the only issue. But then he has Chelsea away, Forest away, and a double game week of 2 home games, Wolves at home and Man United at home. He also has another 2 double game weeks coming up. So loads of fixtures. So if you don't have your third Brighton player and you've already got 2 midfielders, definitely go for Estupiñán if you are playing your free hit in game week 32, though. If you're not playing your free hit, then maybe a Liverpool defender, maybe someone like Trent, or even if you want to go cheaper, you could go Alisson instead and then get Estupiñán. So, yeah, definitely have a look at them. For me, I think a Man City defender or goalkeeper, a Liverpool defender or goalkeeper, and a Brighton defender or goalkeeper is essential, and a Man United as well, actually. So your defense should really look like City, Liverpool, Man United, and Brighton as your overall. So your defense and your goalkeeper. So bear that in mind, see whatever fits your team better and go from there. And let's move on to the midfielders. So as you can see, there is a heavy theme with this video. There's a lot of City and Liverpool players. This is because they double in game week 34. And a lot of us will already have Man United players who also double, one of the best doubles, as they just doubled. But with City and Liverpool, they didn't. They actually played each other. So we're going to be heavily looking at City and Liverpool for midfielders. We'll start off with the City players. So Jack Grealish, I did speak about him last week, so I won't go over it too much more. But Grealish, 6.9 million, only 3.5% owned, which is really good differential. Just under 18 points he is expected over the next 4. Jack Grealish is a difficult one. His goals and assists are not amazing, 4 goals, 7 assists, but he is starting to pick up form. He is starting to get into them positions where he's going to score more goals, get more assists, and he does look like he's got that left side nailed. City's fixtures are Leicester at home, Arsenal at home, double game week of Fulham away, and West Ham at home. So really, really good. That obviously the Arsenal game's tough, but City at home, you've got to fancy them against anyone, even against Arsenal. Another option is Mahrez. So last week I did speak about De Bruyne. Now I'm not too sure on De Bruyne. So I think Mahrez pretty much has that spot nailed. Now Foden is out. He's expected back in a week or so, but I feel like they won't want to rush him back, as if they do get to the latter stage of the Champions League, he will be crucial for that. Mahrez is a player that steps it up towards the business end of the season. A lot of people forget about him early on. He doesn't really put up any trees, but when it comes to the business end of the season, Mahrez is the guy. Although, having said that, he's got 5 goals, 7 assists, so similar to Grealish, and we don't really talk about Grealish as an FPL option. Mahrez could be a differential for people who are not actually thinking about him, because he is a risk. All Man City players are at risk, apart from Ederson, Haaland, and De Bruyne. Even De Bruyne this season has been. So it is a risk. Jack Grealish is probably the safer option, as that left side is a bit more nailed. On the right, you could go Foden, Alvarez, or Mahrez. But Mahrez, for me, has a bigger goal threat. Although he's only scored one more goal than Grealish this season, I do find him to have a better goal threat. For me, I wouldn't risk it. I'd definitely go for Grealish over Mahrez. For the Liverpool players, I have gone for Salah. Again, not his best season, but he's still put in really, really good numbers. In terms of how much he's valued at, he's still really expensive, 12.8 million. 26.9% owned now for Mo Salah. And don't forget, a lot of that will be players that have started the game and haven't carried on. They'll be called dead teams. He did get dropped against Chelsea, but he has scored 12 goals this season, 18 assists, so 20 returns from Mo Salah in a bad season. It's not that bad. Liverpool's fixtures do look good coming up. Leeds away, Forest at home, West Ham away, double game week of 2 home games, Spurs and Fulham. We know how good they've been at home, as I've mentioned with Trent. With Salah, though, he is a lot of money. If there's an easy way to get him, then I'd get him in. Maybe sell Kane, not this week though, as Kane does have Bournemouth at home. But maybe next week or in a couple, just before that, game week 32 game, if you're not playing your free hit. If you are playing your free hit, then you probably don't need to worry about Salah until game week 34. But I'd get him in for Leeds away. I think that's a good fixture. If you can get him in earlier, that is saying. He is the best option from Liverpool. I know he's expensive, but he can turn it on, as we've seen against Man United, as we've seen like numerous times this season. He can get them big hauls. With that 21-point haul, 2 goals, 2 assists against Man United. Even against Everton, he got an 11-pointer. Villa, he got a goal and assist. Spurs away, he got 2 goals. So he can still get them big points hauls. If he can't afford Salah, Gakpo may be an option. Again, his place is not nailed. 7.7 million, though, a little bit cheaper. 3.7% owned. He's expected to score just under 20 points in the next 4. For me, I wouldn't risk it. I think Gakpo is a good player and will probably start most games. But with the fact that Jota's coming back, you've got Darwin that can play there. Diaz might be coming back soon. I just wouldn't risk it. I'd go for Salah or no other Liverpool midfielder, really. So out of these 2, I'd probably go for, if you can afford it, I'd go for Salah or Grealish. If not, then I probably wouldn't go for Gakpo. I think it's too much of a risk. I'd probably look towards more of the Liverpool forwards. But we'll get onto that in the next section, not giving away too much. Let's actually go to it now. Let's go on to the forwards. I know a lot of you are probably going to be thinking, is this guy a Liverpool fan? I am not, but Liverpool have been awful this season, but they don't blank in game week 32 and they double in game week 34 with 2 home games in that double, which is where they can perform at home. They've been terrible away from home. Their home form hasn't been that bad. So, as saying that, we'll talk about Darwin Núñez. So if you can't afford Salah, this is probably where I'd go. 8.8 million, 9% owned, expected to score just under 25 points in game week 31. Just to recap on Liverpool's fixtures, but I've said them so much this video, I'm sure you already know it, but just quickly: Leeds away, Forest at home in the blank of game week 22, West Ham away, Spurs at home, Fulham at home in the double game week 34. So Darwin has been done okay this season, 8 goals, 4 assists. He is a player that is a bit erratic, doesn't really finish his chances, but he can get hauls, and he has got hauls. 12-pointer against Man United. Earlier on in the season, he did get 13 against Southampton. But I'd say only get, if you can't afford Salah, Salah is the priority. If he's going to cost you 8, 12, 14, 16, 20 points, then I won't get Salah. I'd just go for Darwin if it's easier for you. Another Liverpool option is Diogo Jota. So we all know how good Jota can be. He is 0.4% owned. Literally no one owns him. His expected points, let's disregard that. It's just because he hasn't played consistently and he's just come back from injury. But having said that, he's got 3 assists this season, but he's literally hasn't played. He's only come back from injury, game week 23. Started the last 2 games though, so that's promising. And again, the fixtures do look good. For me, I'd probably, if I'm bringing in Jota, I'd have to wait until game week 34, just to see if he does keep his place, if he carries on playing. If he plays that Leeds game, plays that Forest game, plays that West Ham game, then you kind of know that, okay, he is first choice. For me, I wouldn't risk it. Nunes is 0.1 more, so I'd probably go for him. But Jota, we don't know how deadly he can be in front of goal. So just keep that in mind. These are only if you can't afford Salah. If you can afford Salah, I probably would leave it, to be honest. Next up, we've got Julian Alvarez, so Man City. Again, this is a punt, as with starts, we don't know. But having said that, he did start last time out against, he started against Liverpool, not last time out, because Haaland was injured, and he got a goal and assist. He scored 6 goals, 2 assists this season, but he's not guaranteed to start. 2.2% owned. Only expected 3 points, which is just because of his minutes. Only 6 million though. So for me, if you think Alvarez is going to start, if Mahrez, Foden, Grealish are starting in the Champions League, then there's more chance of Alvarez to start. If Haaland gets injured again, or he looks like Pep's going to just use him in the Champions League, Alvarez is the go-to. Again, for me, it's not worth the risk. I know some people are thinking about doing it. 6 million, it's worth the punt. It's not worth it for me. I'd rather go for Jack Grealish for an extra 0.8 more. The only thing is, there are a lot of good midfielders and not amazing, clear, obvious options for forward. So that's why a lot of people have looked at Alvarez. But for me, I'd rather someone else. I'd rather keep Watkins, go with Watkins, or go for Darwin, even Harry Kane, to be honest, then probably get Alvarez in. Last up, this is kind of a theme maybe for forwards. It shows how bare forwards are. Obviously, if you don't have Watkins, definitely get Watkins in. But having said that, with Aston Villa's fixtures, they don't blank in game at 32, so that is a good option, but they don't double. So it's kind of, you're getting the same amount of fixtures really as a double. Again, only if you're not playing your free hit. If you are playing your free hit, then probably don't look at Villa as getting players in. I wouldn't be selling Watkins, but don't be getting them in. Well, if you've got him, yeah, keep him. Or if you're going to get him in this week, then get him in. But I mean, just for the kind of game week 34 onwards. Next up, we've got Anthony Martial, a player that burnt me. So I did get him instead of Rashford after the World Cup. So he's pretty bad with that. Did mess me up in game week 20, double game week. But he is back now. He hasn't started as far as I know. And he is a risk. He is an injury risk. 6.3%, massive differential, under 1% owned. Man United's fixtures are Forest away, Spurs away, Villa at home, and Brighton away. So not the easiest, but not the hardest. They do blank in 32. So again, if you're not on a free hit, don't get Martial. For me, it's a punt. It's a punt. Is it worth taking? If Martial's on form, if he doesn't get injured, if he stays fit, he will score goals. There's no doubt about that. Man United do look a better team for me with Martial up front. He is more dynamic than Weghorst. He's got 3 goals, 2 assists this season, and literally hasn't played all season. But can he stay fit? For me, I won't risk it. I don't think it's worth risking it. It's so close to the end of the season. You don't want to be making unnecessary transfers if Martial gets injured or stuff like that. For me, out of these 4, I'd probably go for Darwin. He is the more nailed out of Liverpool 2 at the moment. But in terms of forwards overall, Haaland is one I think you should definitely have. Kane, I wouldn't be bringing him in, but if you've got him, keep him. Watkins is a good option. Again, I'd be keeping him. I'd maybe get him in if he carries on his scoring form. With Villa's fixtures from game week 31, so they have Newcastle at home, Brentford away, Fulham at home, and Man United away. So no double game weeks, but they do play in that blank, which is crucial. For me, there's not really any other forward options. We are struggling for forwards. It might be a time to go to 3-5-2, to be honest with you, because there are a lot of good midfielders at the minute, especially with Salah. So maybe if you drop down a player you want to get out, say if you're taking out Harry Kane, as Harry Kane's fixtures do turn, but I wouldn't be doing it in 31. I'd be doing it maybe in 32, where he has Newcastle away, then Man United at home, then Liverpool away. So that's a run of 3 tough games. And we know Harry Kane can score against anyone, but that is tough, them games. So if you want to take out Harry Kane, drop him down to a 4.3 million, maybe Greenwood from Leeds, and get in Salah, and then play 3-5-2. I think that is a good option, because for me, there's not standout strikers at the minute. I know Watkins has done really, really well, but his fixtures do turn and they don't double. Brennan Johnson could be an option. But again, Man United at home, Liverpool away, Brighton at home, Brentford away. That is pretty tough. Havertz, don't trust any Chelsea forwards, to be honest. Maybe Lampard can get a tune out of them, but I don't trust them at all. Solanke, Spurs away, West Ham at home, Southampton away, Leeds at home. Not for me. Maybe a Newcastle forward could be an option, Wilson or Isaac. They have Villa away, Spurs at home, Everton away, and Southampton at home, and they will double. Not in game week 34, but they'll double after that. So maybe a Newcastle forward could be an option. For me, I'd drop down to 2 forwards if you can. Get Salah in as your 5th midfielder, and go from there, really, because there are a lot of good midfielders out. You got you got 3 Brighton midfielders you can choose from. You got Rashford, you got a Leicester one that's doing pretty well. You got a Liverpool one, a Man City one you can get in. So I'd definitely drop down to 2 forwards if you can and get that 5th midfielder. If you have liked this video, make sure to leave a like on the video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so. Please make sure you leave a comment. What are your transfers for this week? Has this helped you? And are we going to 3-5-2? What do you reckon? Let me know below. And yeah, good luck for the game week. Cheers.